Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. So here we are on a Monday. Let's see, 3 days after the concrete was poured, and they cut the concrete basically into 10-foot squares, as you can see. And this will prevent cracking. There's already some surface cracks there. Actually, it won't prevent cracking. Let me restate that. It will help the cement, because all cement cracks. It will help the cement to crack along the cuts. And so that's a good thing. And as you can see here, it's just part of the necessary cutting that you have to do in order to, have a lot of regular cracks. Now, this cement is a little different because it is all on 2-inch foam board. And so having that, essentially it's a floating piece of concrete, because the sides are against the foam board, and so are the bottoms, right on top of the radiant floor heat. Oh, I was going to show you what they also did today. They're starting to frame the roof. I think tomorrow they will get a lot more. So those are the purlins, which I believe are 16 on center. I think they're 16s. 2x8s. So they are pretty stout purlins in there. And that's what we will insulate with this foam board that we just got today. Let me show you that. This is the foam board we got from Home Depot. It's about $34 a sheet. It is Armax 13.1. Armax 13.1 is the maximum that you can get in a 2-inch board. And it has foil on top and foil on bottom. So it's actually a heat reflector as well. So this is pretty high grade stuff. And it's pretty expensive too. That's what we're going to use in the loft area up here. And then also in the shop, we're going to frame across the bottom. And then we're going to put up this Armax, actually for the ceiling for now. We'll screw that up, and then we'll put in a bat on top of that. And then maybe some storage, above it too, eventually. So anyway, things are coming along. Did you see our solar? I gotta show you the solar. This is quite the sight. My boys and I worked on this yesterday. And as you can see, we have 2 arrays completed now. There's one, and there's the other one right around the corner, at 2 different faces on purpose. And they're quite dirty because everything is dirty here. Everything you walk around is just filthy and dusty. So it's actually just like flour, if you can see that. Look at that. It's just like flour. So we're ready for some rain as soon as we can get a roof on. Now take a look at this. This is the back side, so you get to see a little bit more of how the structure is working here. And if you look, with all these panels are pre-wired in, and we're about ready to start connecting the arrays. And then I'm going to run some conduit down the bottom here. We got the conduits that go onto the house. That's all in place. But here is the real cool thing. So I'm not sure if I can do this with the camera or not. You kind of see that. So just by twisting this, I can adjust the elevation of the array, which is, this has probably got to be about 1,500 pounds. I would guess up in the air on these great big Schedule 80 8-inch pipes. Here's another one. As you can see, getting these in the air, if we didn't have that telehandler, it would have been a lot harder. So once you get them up in the air, you have to put in a bolt that it sits on. You let it down, and then you tighten the set screws up, and everything is tight on the back. And then you go the other side, and then you put the last 2 panels in our case. So these are mounts by Mount Solar, or I should say Montana Solar, mtsolar.us, and they are built like none other I've ever seen. This could be on a full exposure ridge, and these solar panels would not go anywhere. That's what they're made for. So I'm not sure we need this because we're in a well-protected area, but it's good to have it nonetheless, because here's what I like. You see, I'm maybe 25 degrees thereabouts, and I can keep going until I'm almost vertical. Look how far off the ground that is. That's important, because in the wintertime, I am just barely above the trees for the sun, and this is high up, so it gets its own perspective, a height elevation on the north side here. And when it does snow, that snow is going to come down. We'll see how this theory works, right? Snow is going to come down, hit these panels, and will shed right off of it into a pile. Well, what usually happens, if you don't have a pretty good height, you're going to have to shovel that pile off. Since these are going to be maybe 10-15 degrees, somewhere in there, shedding shouldn't be too much, because it's going to come right off, and there shouldn't be a lot of accumulation on those panels either. So we'll see how that theory works out, right? I'll be out here shoveling, or I'll be out here shoveling with the kids. But anyway, it would be nice to have clear panels, and we can seasonally adjust that from that 10 to 15 degrees position to a summer when we're tilting it back, quite a ways, maybe 45, 55 degrees, to get that high sun, maybe more. I can't remember the azimuth right now. So here we go with the super trailer. It brought up all the materials for the RMAX. We got enough for the roof, and we have enough for the garage roof. And the next thing I need to order is double R19, because I believe that we should probably be dried in here within the week, thereabouts. We have rain coming in towards Friday, so it'd be sure nice to have the roof dried in, and then it can rain and settle all this dust. That would be a great thing. All right, so that's my update for today. Pretty exciting times. Now that concrete is in, we can really start working on a lot of different things, including framing, interior, electrical, rough electrical, I should say, just for temporary power, and because we don't have any interior walls yet. So pretty excited about that. I'm excited that we have materials up on site here as well, and pretty soon we'll have garage doors, house doors, we'll have our front door, and then we'll have a tight building. That is going to be an amazing thing. All right, I'll try to answer to the best I can, and I'm going to try to get caught up on my videos as well. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Working on the solar, just doing final assembly. Now I need to tell you something, is that each of these panels produces about 40 volts of DC. And the amperage, if I could read it, is rated voltage. Rated current is 9.31. So each one is about 10 amps at 40 volts. And we're running 4 different strings. So basically with 48 panels, we have 4 times 12 equals 48. And so each of those is, 12. So each of these arrays, these ground mount arrays, are 16. So that means that 4 of the 16 have to go to another panel, and that would be the southern panel, or the southern array pole mount, which we split 50-50. In other words, 8 and 8. So we have 8 there, so we need another 4 to get to our 12. Okay, does that make sense? So logically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the outside 4 here, and I'm going to connect it to the 8 on the southern, so that it gets equal amounts of sun. Okay, the rest of this array is pointing towards the southwest, southwest, and it's going to be on another string entirely. So the right 12 of the 16 will be on its own string. Okay, now it's true that even though we're running 4 strings, the solar charger only has 2 MPPTs. So what does that mean? Well, I have connections actually on it for, I've got 4 strings which I could bring into, but they get combined, even though they're terminated in 2 different places, they get combined under 1 MPPT controller. Okay, so that means that basically what I'm going to do here in this system is I'm going to run all of these strings to a combiner on the last pole, which is the southern array, and that one, and they're going to combine 4 into 2. So that is a special combiner made by Midnight, and it is a 4-pole disconnect switch, but it not only connects the positive, it actually connects the negative as well, or the ground. So essentially, that's what a transformerless inverter likes to see. Is they don't want to see anything. They want to see it be disconnected on the positive and the negative side. So that's what we're getting, and we're waiting for that to come in towards the end of the month. So in the meantime, I'm going through here and connecting these up in preparation, and zip tying them all together so that when we're ready to go, I should have wire, by the way, tomorrow. And when we have the wire, then I can start hooking the arrays through the conduit together, and then I'm not going to connect them yet because this has the potential of being several hundred volts of DC, and that is a dangerous thing. So we're going to leave everything disconnected until we have everything wired all the way back to the panel, so if that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to try. Oh yeah, this is getting tall. Ugh. Might have to let this down a little bit. I'm tall, but not that much. Okay, especially out here. All right, so what I'm going to do, let's start here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave the negative out here, and I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to go positive to negative. Okay, So these connectors are made, these are MC4 connections. They only go on one way and they click and they're done. So then I do a figure 8 essentially, and I'm going to zip tie these together up here onto the rail. Okay, and that's what I'm going to work on right now to get them ready. So I figure 8 them like this, and I'm going to, whenever there's a connector, by the way, I like to zip tie right on the connector, and that way I know it's secure. Come on. Figure 8. There we are. I'm going to move that connector back a little bit. And put that right here. And zip tie right. Okay, I'm going to go right in the middle of that. Make sure I got it. Right here. Okay, there we are. And get that in the channel. I made a mistake. I should have done that. So I'm going to waste a couple. I'm going to waste one. So I'm putting 2 together. Just like that. Well, once again, another beautiful day up here. It is outstanding. We've got a lot of smoke here with the fires, and even though they're in southern Oregon, they're still pretty prevalent as far as the smoke is. And we've had some down in the valley. Air quality has been extremely poor, so it's kind of nice to come up here and work because it's much better. All right, we got that in there, we got that in there. Okay, that's good. I think that's pretty good as well. We keep working our way down the line here. Now this gets a little tall. All right, figure 8. Get my zip ties. All right, just like that. And so I did a lot of research on these panels, and I really like these because I think they're on 20% efficient. If not, about an 18, I can't remember right now. But the interesting thing is these poles here, the steel poles are actually Hyundai as well. Whatever happened to American manufacturing? I hope it comes back. I'm gonna twist this pole down here. I'm gonna twist you guys a little bit so you can see what happens. Oop, I gotta go the right way so I can actually reach this. It's quite handy when you need to do something underneath here. You just have to extend this jack, and you can bring down that front. It brings up the back, but much easier to work on, especially in that corner where it's hard to reach. All right, that should be pretty good. I'll bring you over here so you can see some more. All right. bring this across, put it into that channel, and come over here, bring this one down. It's sure going to be nice to see these panels operate and generate some electricity. We're almost to the point where we're dried in. As soon as we get dried in, I'm going to start, and we have doors, I'm going to start hooking up the solar on a temporary power basis, which is going to be awesome. Okay, so now I've got the positive that needs to come back, and it needs to come back to the pole because I'm going to make a connection there. So I need to secure this. See, I'm going to turn that around like so. There we go. And then I'm going to bring this over the beam as well. Now I'm going to put that zip tie in right there, so these cables aren't flopping around. We don't get much wind here, but still don't like to see things move. All right, there we are. Okay, that's it for that. So what we have just done is we've connected 4 panels. Remember the voltage, when we connect in series, what happens is the voltage is times the number of panels that you connect together, but the current stays the same. If we were doing this in parallel, in other words, putting 4 panels together, tying all the negatives, tying all the positives together, then we would have the opposite. We would have 40 volts, the same as 1 panel, but we would have, instead of about 10 amps, we would have 10 times 4 or 40 amps. So basically what we have here is we have 10 amps at 40 times 4, 160 volts, essentially. And so when they're all together, when this array of 4 gets connected to the other one of 8 times 4 is 320, plus 140 is 460 volts. Still less than the 500 volt. Most inverters or most charge controllers want to see less than 500 volts or less into them on a DC basis. And so that's just how they're rated. And anything above that gets really dangerous as well. So here we are, we've got there we are. That's the positive coming back, and we'll connect that to the pole. It'll go down, positive and negative. That pair will be connected. I'm not going to make the connection here yet. That's the last thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to connect it to the others. Well, I'm going to connect one end and run it to the other panels. When I get ready to connect it, I'll connect them. I've got to connect everything into the combiner when there's no load. And then the last thing I will do is come up to these 1 MC4s that will energize it, and that will make it live into that combiner box. So basically that's what I'm doing. This is pretty fascinating work. It's kind of fun to do. All right, here we go. We're working now on the rest of the array. This is or rest of the string, I should say, and the array too. What we're going to do is start on the outside. And I'm gonna start here, and I'm gonna, well, let's see what we got here. Okay, gonna leave positive, and I'm gonna start here on, actually I'm gonna leave negative, and I'm gonna work my way in. And I'm gonna attach this here, and zip tie it there, and we'll keep working our way. Now, if you notice that these two panels are just opposite each other, usually everything would be, you know, where it comes together and the taps come off of the panel are always on the right or the left-hand side if you're laying them horizontally. The reason I turn these things around is if I had the connectors out here, that's just more wire that I have to run all the way to the pole and then down. So if I turn them around, I'm really back to back on this last array, and I don't have a long wire run back to the pole and then down, if that makes sense. So that's the only place I do it, and it's kind of a preference thing, is on the right side of the layout. Okay. Notice we're using black wire ties here. For those of you that, a lot of people already know this, but if you're using black ties, they are UV resistant. If I was using white ties, they would get fragile and they'd eventually just break off. So these will last a long time on these. Okay. By the way, all panels actually are. Which one did I say I'm going to leave? I was going to leave negative, wasn't I? Yep. So I'm going to do positive. Positive. That's the male end. Okay. What I was saying is all panels, solar panels, are based on DC. And so that's direct current. So AC current is what you use in the house. So it actually has to be converted. And that's what the inverter does. Okay. I might use another wire tie there. And let's see, I'll just put them all together. So as I was saying, that all solar panels are DC based, direct current. And what has to happen in the house is you will have not only a charge controller, but you will also have what's called an inverter. And basically what an inverter does is it will convert the voltage from DC to AC, which is what the house uses and all your appliances use. So that's the conversion that has to happen, and so you have to have a very strong inverter to convert to AC, because that's, if you have a 200 amp panel, let's just walk this through, shall we? 200 amps at 110 is a lot of watts. Okay. But your panel, your house panel, is actually divided into an A and a B phase, excuse me. And when it's converted into a A and a B phase, come on. Slide that down here a little bit. Okay, as I was saying, when that's converted to an A and a B phase, your 200 amps is actually is really 100 amps on the A phase and another 100 amps on the B phase. Okay, so that's interesting to note, because most residential services are 200 amp service, and they split. Okay. Where do I keep putting my dikes? Oh, in that pocket. I'm gonna get my tool belt out here so I can do some wiring and quit searching for tools. All right. We'll keep working our way down. Oh, nothing like kneeling in rocks. Makes it a little harder to do your figure eights here. Hear that click? When that clicks, you're good. Looks like I'm gonna have to break up the wire ties here a little bit. Can't have floppy wires. Nothing worse than hearing wires flop in the breeze. Am I boring you guys yet? Probably. Well, I think it's about time that I take you on a tour of some of the other parts of the property, and we're gonna go down the switchback down to our creek here, and thought I'd show you that on our trusty Polaris 2-stroke ultra budget 4-wheeler. So let me see if I can get this started, and then we can take off.